Hi everyone, this is my reflection practice number one activity, so the culmination of my journey over the course. So I've put together a little slideshow and I kind of set it up week by week. And so coming into this class, I had some experience with meditation and contemplative prayer. And quite honestly, I thought of meditation as, yes, like a yogi and this beautiful scenery and nature and everything is peaceful and yeah, that I'm just gonna focus on that present moment. But really, week one and really at all 8 weeks, I struggled with getting into that present moment and quiet and patient. And so I always feel like I have a lot to do on my to-do list and it needs to get done yesterday. So I felt a little more like the little guy on the left. Excuse me, I guess that'd be the right. Um, so in week one of the things that I really liked is I hadn't learned the language of reflective practice, and the Raisin meditation I really wanted to do because I thought it sounded, one, kind of silly, and I don't do a lot of silly things, but it also gave me a chance to work through kind of the steps without it being too involved. And so I had I found this little graphic that walks you through that describing what happened and the feelings and the evaluation, analysis, conclusion, and then the action plan. And I tend to get distracted, and I was honestly thinking about that song. I heard it through the grapevine. So I was just thinking about these raisins, and so I had to keep coming back to the present moment instead of singing that song. So that was kind of a funny thing that happened that wasn't put in my reflections to begin with. So this is what my practice typically looked like most days, is that I sat in my big brown chair in the morning, and then in the evening I would lay on the floor on my yoga mat, and that's a little buckwheat kind of pillow that I would just put over my eyes and just kind of lay there with a little blanket on top of me. So that was pretty much my two go-to positions, if you will, twice a day over the last 8 weeks. So week two was the roughest week for me in terms of dealing with external things that were happening. And this is a piece from my week two reflective update about the immigration crisis and separation of families and deportation of people. And I guess I just kind of felt like everything was so chaotic, everything was so out of control. I try to stay away from the news, but this one really was just gut-wrenching for me. And so I actually used a lot of the week one's meditations that I had started in the morning and the evening that I wasn't necessarily going to continue doing daily in addition to all the other things. But I really found that Wednesday was kind of like the pinnacle for me, and I actually used one of the meditations 3 times just to kind of calm myself because everything that was happening was so unnerving. So I was very happy to have that kind of tool in my toolbox to kind of get myself back together, because even if I wasn't seeking out the news, coworkers were talking about it. It might pop on the radio, so it was around even if I wasn't seeking it out. It's hard to keep those things out of our lives, and so having something to work with those things that come up was really nice to have. And I will say that I wasn't real happy and I wasn't real proud of the emotions that came over me. And it really did settle into my shoulders, my back, my neck. I had headaches. But within a day, I was able to kind of get myself together and kind of move forward from that. One of the pieces that I really took away in week two was also the reflection in action and the reflection on action. And I would say that I'm pretty good about reflection on action after the event. But the reflection in action, the time that something is happening, I don't know that I had the tools or the presence of mind to try to think that I had any control over what was happening in the moment. So I was happy to also have that little tool that when I'm teaching, I often have um, aspects of, I don't know, I feel like the class has just kind of gotten away from me, specifically in a face-to-face situation or the conversation, and I'm like, what's happening, and try to get it back on track. And I didn't know that reflection and action is potentially something that I could have used, and now I do, so I will in the future. Week 2 was also great in that it was actually still cool enough to get out and do some walking and bike riding. So I was able that week to get out twice and do a walk, and then I got out and rode my bike once, and it was really nice that riding my bike I got to go a little further than if I was just on foot, and I got to see the Arkansas River, which was really, really nice. And so I'm ready for the weather to cool down so I can get back out and do that again. So week 3, we were able to do some things that were a little different in terms of like maybe not watching TV, which I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do have some shows that I like. But there's this website called Redbubble, and they really support artists, and you can get different kinds of products, whether it's stationery or stickers or postcards or cards or decor, apparel, whatever. Anything that you basically can put art on, they will sell. And so was teaching a creativity class and thought, well, what could I do that's creative? And I'm not artistic in that way, but I do love it. So I went on to Redbubble and I found 5 postcards or so, 5 or 6 postcards, and decided to send love notes to people that I really care about. And I've done that in the past. I just, like so many other things, kind of let go by the wayside when I get busy and think, oh, it's not that important. But not only is it important to the people that I send them to, kind of that keeping the other in mind, letting them know I'm thinking about them and that I love them, but it's also good for me because I mean, it's really nice to reflect on my friendships with people and my family. This is a postcard that I actually sent to my daughter. She's a violinist and she has dark hair, and I just thought of her, and I've got to send this to her. And so now she has it up on her refrigerator, and when she looks at it, she thinks of me as well. So I really think that, oh, what a great way to spend an hour of your time sending love notes to people that you love and that you care about. So not necessarily kind of I love you ritual that we had in the book, but I do think it's an I love you ritual that we've lost, that I think we could resurrect. So there were some week 3 quotes that were really just outstanding to me, and I will probably print these off in some sort of way and post them because they were so meaningful. The spirit in which you do something is often as important as the act itself. I think when we look at our motivations and why we do things, if we're not in a good place and if we're not doing them from a place of charity or consideration or kindness, we end up not doing something well. But your playfulness becomes paved over with concrete. I definitely feel like my creativity has stifled a bit being in the PhD program. I don't think that there are enough opportunities for professionals and professionals in training to express our creativity in ways that feed our souls and feed our lives to be productive. At times, I feel like we're just machines at times, that we're expected to produce research and publications and go to conferences, and sometimes I miss the relatedness. And I think I'm going to suggest that we go to the botanical garden next week as part of our graduate teaching associate orientation. That can we just have one night where we're not working and but we're enjoying each other's company and learning from each other, and we are going to be spending an entire year together, working together as colleagues basically, and sometimes it can feel very disconnected. So that was a wonderful quote for me. And then mindfulness is about reorienting your life so you can enjoy it to the full. And I definitely want to enjoy it to the full. So I do know that there are some things that I've got to reorient over the next few weeks. Okay, week 4 was really tough. I gosh, it just seems like every meditation I was thinking about my mom and my dad and my little brother. They all passed away within a year of each other. And my brother, who passed away August 6th, that'll be 2 years just in a few days, he passed away right before I started the PhD program. And we found out that he passed away, and then we moved my daughter into her dorm room. And so there was a lot going on. And then my mom died just a few weeks after that. My dad just died in December, and it's all still so fresh that I think I just kept pushing forward in this program, that I just thought, I can't fall apart right now, because I just probably end up dropping out of school. And I'm so glad that I didn't drop out of school, but the level of emotion that came up kind of caught me by surprise. And so as I'm going through my Swedish death cleaning at home, I have 25 years worth of stuff that I'm trying to move around. And I have all these wonderful pictures and mementos from my daughter's childhood that I really didn't want to get rid of, but I also didn't know, my gosh, what do I do with all of this stuff that's everywhere? And I also, there's some backstory that, I left home at just as soon as I could, and it was not under great circumstances. So I took what I could and I ran, and I never looked back. But although I had my freedom now that I'm a mom, and I don't know, there were things that I thought, oh, I remember this thing that I would have loved to have given to my daughter. And so I was really feeling down that I don't have anything to give to her, kind of like as an heirloom. And so I decided to take some of these things, like her little glitter toilet paper angel, and some of her pictures and other things that she's created, and write her a book. As being a writer, I thought, you know what, I can do something for her. And so her birthday's in September, and through reflection, I think that that's a beautiful gift to give to her, is a memento of our lived lives together. Because, before she was born, I did have a life, but the one that we created together is so much sweeter than anything before she got here. So before I get weepy, I'll move on. This was also the week that we had 4th of July, and I work at a monastery, and a couple of times a week we don't eat meat. We'll eat fish, but everything else is off limits. And so instead of going to the movies as a habit releaser, I went and bought food for 25 people, and I called it the Meatless Mania at the monastery, and it was fantastic. I miss cooking, and miss cooking for lots of people immensely. So this was a wonderful opportunity to refocus on that. Again, the Swedish death cleaning, I will say, had a happy end to some of the materials. We had 3 big bags of stuffed animals. I had lots of school supplies, books, and toys. And so I have a friend who works at Gilcrease Elementary School, and she took it all. And I was so happy that the kids at that school will enjoy those, especially the animals. I'm glad that they found a new home. I will say week 6 was also a challenging week. The befriending meditation, I think everyone should do every day. I think that we should be kind to ourselves and kind to other people, and we would get so far as a society and as a world and as a species that everybody should do this. There's this quote from the book, The Rumor Says that if you ever let go of striving or became more compassionate and accepting, you'll lose your edge and become too soft for your own good. I reject that. So I'm going to continue to be compassionate. And my big takeaway from this class is that I want to be mindful, not mindful. I don't want my mind to be full of stuff that isn't necessary. I want to be very precise and dedicated in what I do and intentional. And I would love to create a group reflective practice for graduate teaching associates this fall. And I have so much loved this course.